Hey, how's it going, everybody? Finally found an Elradir on defense to test out. I've got one on my roster, but I'm not going to level him up. I've got way too many wizards vying for emblems, and I'm not too convinced on wanting to add this special to my roster, but do I think he's a good hero? Let's take a look at that. So maxed emblems for a wizard has maybe the most or second most attack nodes that you can get, and that's reflected in this huge 901 attack, which is nice. So the stats are good. Defense is maybe a little low for plus 20, but he's probably going to hit pretty hard. Passive, hero gains a small amount of mana when they receive a status ailment, so at least that's well synergized with what his special skill is. So we'll have to take a look at what that is. They use similar language, but it doesn't always mean the same amount. So we'll see if we can get a rough idea of what you can expect there. Hero has innate resistance against status ailments that block special skills. All right, and if you don't know, he's doing 255% damage to the target and nearby enemies. Caster reflects 100% of the damage received from their status ailments to all enemies for 3 turns. And Element Link gives all nature allies a small amount of mana at the end of the turn for 4 turns. So that's not going to matter on defense in most cases. It's nice to have on offense. 4 turns is great. Undispellable. So he's got a lot of stuff going on. I'd say he's one of the better heroes of the month that's come out recently. They seem to be kind of on an upward trend again, which is nice to see. So if you have this hero, by no means am I saying that you should not strongly consider them. It just depends on what your options are, what your emblem situation is, how many tonics you have, all that kind of stuff. And then, the wizard talent, 25% chance to deal 15% extra damage per each active buff the enemies have. So that definitely adds up quickly. It's a nice talent to have if you're dealing damage. So here's the team. I'm going to go with sort of my most, I think this is my most ailment heavy team. And so he's going to receive a good amount of damage from Gravemaker, who does extra damage to nature. And he's going to throw that back at my entire team, which is pretty good. I'll have to make sure that Garnet is not active because she would block that. So yeah, we'll see what this is like. Basically, I don't think there's a ton to show because his special reads pretty straightforward. I want to show what his damage can be like with high-level troops and maxed emblems, and also just kind of help you visualize what this ailment damage thing looks like. I just noticed that his ear kind of looks like half an avocado. All right, getting to the really hard-hitting information here. Ooh. All right, so we're just going to try to make something not garbage out of this starting board. Wow. All right, I guess we'll just set him off first since we're doing a testing video primarily and see. Oh, I don't like that special. So 480-ish to 500 on defense. So keep in mind that's going to be about 20% lower on offense. And if you don't have the emblems, even a bit lower than that. So nothing earth-shattering by any means. And a lot of people will argue, okay, that's what the rest of his special is for. He's gaining mana very quickly, though. So 100% of the damage received from their ailments is reflected. So that means that he doesn't take the damage also, is my understanding. If we can actually get some special skills going here, I'll be able to tell you more definitively. Wow, this was pretty brutal. Okay, well, he's going to go off again. We'll see the damage one more time. But we are just dead in the water here. And then we get the too little too late. Well, at least we can get Gravemaker going for the testing purposes. Unless Roostly with an attack buff kills us first. That's going to hurt. So with an attack buff now, 630, 600. And then the damage doesn't appear as fire damage, but you can see that the symbol, that kind of like V-shaped reflect thing, is what Gravemaker's damage came through as. So you'll see it again here. He's going to take 251, I think. And I wasn't watching above as well, but you have the luxury of just being able to rewind the video and see if, in fact, Elradir was not taking damage from those status ailments, and it was, in fact, only being truly reflected, I should say. Not much better, huh? Let's see what we can do here. God. Oh, boy. So he's better than I expected. I feel like if he was an event hero, I could see this being a similar thing. I feel like they would add one other tweak to it, like either more damage or something that makes the something that makes his reflect mechanic a little bit better for the team, perhaps. I'm not sure. So I feel like they're definitely building the Heroes of the Month different than they do other harder to get heroes. But he's better than I expected. The damage is the weakest point for me, and maybe for most people. But he does have some perks for sure. See if I can get the reds here. Of course not. So 580 and 530. Oh yeah, and that's the cool part that we weren't seeing before, is he's reflecting this damage back to everyone. So not the best defensive hero in my opinion. I think he's actually a pretty strong addition to plenty of rosters. Obviously, if I was not trying to test him out and was just trying to win the match, I would have, of course, not hit him with Gravemaker, because that just doomed my entire team to taking... Because what is he does that for 4 turns? 3 turns. So that doomed my team to 500 damage to everyone. And he took none, so that was completely stupid. So he's really not a defensive hero, because if you want to win, you'll just avoid hitting him. But on excuse me. But on defense, on offense, I think he could be pretty good. He's not the right color to counter Bira, but it is kind of nice that he can just, if you're taking damage, so are they. I guess only for 3 turns. But that's still, probably 300 damage to everyone that they wouldn't be taking otherwise. And he's doing damage on top of that, and he's gaining a bit of mana each turn. The innate resistance against status ailments that block special skills is almost irrelevant. Because again, like I've mentioned, he's far better on offense. And you're not really seeing many defenses using that skill. Something else I just noticed that I hadn't thought about before is he is average speed. So for a lot of people that consider the Heroes of the Month more seriously in terms of leveling, usually they are players that don't have as many options, and typically that can also mean they're players with lower leveled troops. So if you have lower leveled troops, average heroes are definitely a disadvantage, because since you're matching in groups of 3, to match 10 tiles, you typically need 4 matches, which means he's basically functioning at slow speed. There are, of course, exceptions to that. That is an overgeneralization, but it also is true in a number of cases as well. So if he was an event hero, he would definitely be fast speed with probably like 270% damage or something. So keep that in mind. You can work around this. Let's see if I can remember. He's a wizard, which I think means... I think he gets a 2% mana node at 19, if I remember correctly. Which means you can get away with having only a level 17 green mana troop. So keep that in mind, because that could improve your chances of being successful with him. But I definitely think he has that potential. So glad to see they're releasing stronger Heroes of the Month than they had been before, because we had a pretty weak run of them, in my opinion. So final thoughts. Better than I expected. Definitely has drawbacks still, but on offense has some pretty strong use cases. Yeah, I would consider him. Consider him in the context of the information that I gave and what your other options are, what your troops are like, what your emblem situation is like. For example, if you had like Cobalt and Alfreich, maybe she's a bad example. Say Cobalt and Hell in Elradir, and you have a level 17 green mana troop exactly, would I recommend you give emblems all the way up to 19 to him just so you can speed him up a little bit with the troops that you have? Almost certainly not. In that context, you have 2 wizards that are much better, and they are a better home for those emblems. He would need too many for that. So he's not like that exceptional hero where you're like, oh yeah, it's definitely worth investing 1,250 emblems just to speed him up and make him a little stronger. He's not that good, but if you have the emblems sitting around and no competition for him, and you've got tonics, and the troop situation works out, all those kinds of things, then yeah, you can use him to great effect, and I think you're going to really like him in the right teams. So yeah, as always, I wish there was a simpler answer, but it just doesn't work that way. It really depends on the synergy and the context. And so I try to give as much information there as I can. There's still some deciding that has to happen on your part, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Please like the video if you've watched this far. It really helps out the channel, and I appreciate it as well. Also, consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. That way you will potentially be notified if you hit the bell icon as well when I drop new videos, and you'll be most up to date on information that's out there. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.